August 20th, 2019, Stone House, Little Dog. I heard a song, I heard Jesus singing. My dove, open the door for me. I am wet with the night dew. I saw Jesus knocking at the door. The door was at the foot of the mountain, hidden among the rocks in a secluded corner. It was a tightly closed wooden gate. The door was somewhat dilapidated, surrounded by large rocks. These rocks seemed like very hard bronze or iron. I felt as if I were in a cave, the inside similar to the outside, the rock walls also seeming like bronze or iron. I sat alone in the cave, hugging my knees, my head buried in them, as if weeping. Jesus stood outside the door, knocking. His clothes, his hair, seemed to be wet with dew or rain. He knocked with his right hand. I seemed somewhat resistant, still sitting and weeping. Confessing my sins, I prayed to the Lord to save and help me, to give me the strength to rise and open the door for the Lord. I saw that although I was still sitting, the lamp within me was lit. I could only see the light, not the lampshade or the lamp casing, only the light itself. Praying to the Lord to help me rise and open the door. I saw myself crawling on the ground, crawling to the door, opening the door for the Lord. The door opened, and I clung to Jesus' feet. I saw that I had transformed into a docile little dog, leading Jesus into the house. The house was empty except for the walls of bronze and iron. I lay there ashamed, looking at Jesus. I was like a little dog guarding the house. Jesus was the master of the house. The master had returned, and I, the guard, was ashamed because there was nothing in the house. I, like a little dog, with tears in my eyes, bowed my head in shame, as if afraid to look at the Lord, because there was nothing in the house, nothing at all, not even a seat for Jesus. The walls and floor seemed to be made of bronze and iron. I bowed my head even lower and wept, because there was nothing to offer Jesus. Then I saw that I was a puppy, with clean white fur. I lowered my head, tears welling in my eyes, ashamed, and dared not look at Jesus. Jesus came over, knelt down, and held me in his arms, turning his head to press his right cheek against mine. I nestled obediently and ashamed in his arms, whispering, "Lord, there's nothing here, nothing at all." I felt even more distressed, because there was nothing there, no seat for Jesus to sit, no bed for Jesus to rest, nothing at all. I cried sadly, sobbing in Jesus' arms, filled with shame. I didn't know what to do, I knew nothing. Helplessly, I nestled in Jesus' arms. August 24th, 2019, Stonehouse Girl. Seeing Jesus gently lead me to sit down, I felt like a blind woman, my eyes covered with gauze. He led me to this house, a house of bronze or iron, the color of bronze, not a light yellow, but a very deep bronze, not black, but like the color of chocolate, a somber yellow tinged with stone, yet resembling copper. Jesus led me into this house, he led me to sit down, and he began to remove the gauze covering my eyes, the kind of white medical gauze. He peeled it off layer by layer. Then he sat opposite me, looking at me. I seemed to be the age of a middle school girl, innocent and naive, rubbing my eyes. I felt unsure how to face him, how to look him directly in the eye, still avoiding looking at him face to face. I prayed that the Lord would remove the veil of avoidance and cover from my heart, enabling me to face him. When I suddenly looked up at him, I saw him weeping, 2 lines of tears streaming down his face, tears of his longing for me. His emotions were overflowing, while I remained emotionless, showing no reaction, even a sense of bewilderment. I prayed that the Lord would touch the strings of my heart. Seeing this, my heart stirred. I didn't know what emotions I felt, I also felt like crying. I wanted to wipe away Jesus' tears, but I didn't know how, what to use to wipe his tears. Like a child, I tried to wipe away his tears with my hands. Then, I kissed him, kissing away his tears with my lips. As the kiss reached my lips, my heart suddenly ached. I looked at him and cried, thinking, "Lord, when will I grow up?" I long to grow up, I don't want you to wait for me like this anymore. Lord, you wait for me, you miss me, I don't want you to suffer in your heart while waiting for me. I looked at him, Lord, I long to grow up quickly, so that my emotions and heart can resonate and merge with yours. I seemed to be speaking, yet I seemed not to be speaking at all. My heart spoke, but my mouth seemed not to move. It was as if I was thinking, but it was as if I didn't need to speak, didn't need to open my mouth, yet already knew. I looked at him, tears welling up, wanting to comfort him, yet not knowing what to do, so I just stood there waiting for him. He tidied my hair. I have long, black hair, but with 2 buns above my forehead. I have a lot of hair, and the length is about below my shoulders. A few strands on the right side were a little messy, falling onto my chest. Jesus gently smoothed them down, straightening them at the back. I love you, I'll wait for you to grow up, he spoke softly. I was wearing ancient clothing, it looked like hanfu, but my attire also made me look like a maid. He faced me and placed a large white flower in my right hair bun. The flower was like a blooming rose or peony, its white petals revealing yellow stamens. My clothes were a very light blue, like the color of willow trees in February, a pale blue. He looked at me and smiled, and I smiled too. Seeing him smile made me happy, so I smiled as well, though I didn't know why he was smiling. He looked at my clothes, and I followed his gaze. I realized the light green garment was an outer gauze robe, an ancient-style robe, very thin and light. I could feel the softness and delicacy of the gauze. The light green was like the color of willow trees in early spring, a tender green or pale yellowish green. Now, following Jesus' gaze, I saw my inner robe, tied at the waist. The inner robe was bluish-white, made of a different material than the outer robe, seemingly cotton, slightly thicker, a soft yet resilient cotton, and probably a little heavier than the outer robe. I was sitting, but I could still see that under the inner robe, I was wearing trousers, the same bluish-white cotton as the inner robe. A belt was tied around the waist of the inner robe, the belt was a bluish-green, or perhaps green, slightly darker than the outer robe, and the material seemed to be silk, but it wasn't of high quality, inferior to the outer robe, inner robe, and trousers. Although the inner robe was cotton, it was very soft and resilient, feeling like the suppleness of sheepskin, or perhaps it was leather but appeared to be cotton. The outer robe was an extremely soft and delicate silk fabric, like high-quality yarn or silk, of excellent quality. My shoes were also of ancient style, but the color clashed with my clothes, appearing to be black. I looked at Jesus, knowing that everything was revealed before him, and I knew I couldn't change these unsightly shoes and the inferior belt. I looked at Jesus, speaking to him in my heart, or perhaps with my eyes, waiting for him to change and to act. I knew that the comfortable attire, including the outer and inner robes, as well as the hair ornaments, were all arranged by Jesus. Even the belt and shoes were waiting for him to change them. This time, I seemed to look at him calmly and smile, as if speaking to him with my eyes. He smiled too. My belt was gone, he had replaced it with a green leather belt, the supple leather similar in color to the outer robe, but styled like a modern leather belt. Surprisingly, it looked quite harmonious with the ancient clothing, the colors blending perfectly. As he fastened it, I smiled happily, filled with joy, and he was joyful too. After the belt was fastened, he looked at my ugly black shoes, frowning as if in thought. I waited happily for what he would do next. Then, he took off my shoes with his hands. My feet were dirty, as if there was sand or dust on them. He took a snow-white towel, a brand new towel. Beside him was a basin of water, or perhaps a very small lake, the water blue and shimmering. He placed my feet in his bosom, dipped the towel in the small lake to soak them, and then washed my feet. Seeing him do this, seeing his gentle actions, my heart ached, and I cried. After he washed my feet, they shone, white, and bright, as if they were glowing. I cried, not knowing whether it was from being moved or grateful, my heart aching, an indescribable feeling. He placed my feet on the ground, without putting shoes on me. August 26, 2019, Stone Cave, Temple, Platform, Lamp. My child, actually, I wait for you to come before me. I long for you to come before me and commune with me, to meet me. But I also wish you would actively seek me out, instead of always waiting for me to call you. My heart has never left you, nor have my eyes. How joyful and delighted the Heavenly Father and the cloud of witnesses were when they saw you and me in closeness. When I took your hand and returned home, Abba Father's heart was filled with joy. I saw Jesus leading me by the hand, walking in the temple, an open space, like being among the clouds in the sky. I wore a wedding dress, pale yellow tinged with light green. Jesus, in his robes, was on my right, holding my hand, watching our backs as we walked. I looked at him and smiled happily. We climbed a few steps to a flat place, surrounded by swirling clouds, the floor beneath our feet also shrouded in clouds. I didn't know where I was. Jesus and I began to dance on a platform in the middle. This place seemed like the small, empty house encased in bronze and iron, but now it was open, boundless. All of this seemed to be within my body, like the wick or light source of a lamp within me. The original bronze frame of that lamp was gone, only the light remained, and today all of this seemed to be that light, one with that light. Back to the beginning, Jesus and I continued dancing. Although I couldn't see our surroundings, I felt the Father sitting on his throne, and the saints appearing and disappearing around us. Sometimes I danced, sometimes I looked up at him in admiration, and sometimes I nestled in his arms. I knew we were all around, but it was so blissful. Nestled in Jesus' arms, dancing slowly and quietly with him, I wanted it to never stop. As if afraid to stop, I tightly embraced his waist with both hands, pressing my head against his chest. Seeing him lower his head, I looked up and kissed him. Though it wasn't clear, I felt everything was beautiful and harmonious. My head rested on his chest, beneath his chin, enjoying this quiet and beautiful moment with him. It seemed as if music was playing around us. Someone was playing a green, bamboo-like flute, someone seemed to be playing a piano. I looked up and turned to look around, then saw Jesus smiling happily, and he smiled happily too. I nestled against him. Then I wondered if my clinging to Jesus like this, embracing him, in this quietness, might mean he had something to do, and that my stubbornness was holding him back. Thinking this, I looked at him as if asking him a question, he knew without me speaking. He smiled at me, hugged me tighter, and lowered his head to touch mine. August 29, 2019, The Stigmata of Jesus. I saw Jesus sitting alone in that room, a room of bronze and iron, or perhaps an open platform or hall shrouded in clouds. Jesus was alone, as if waiting for me. I came before him, feeling somewhat ashamed, because I had stumbled again yesterday afternoon. I thought of my weaknesses, and of the words in the book of the prophet Rai-Khan, not looking at myself but at Jesus, and of Paul, boasting only of the cross of Jesus Christ and my own weaknesses. But I didn't seem to know how to face Jesus. I told myself to lift my head and look at Jesus, to look at Jesus. Jesus looked at me, watching what I would do. I silently bowed my head and prayed, Lord Jesus, please help me, give me an open heart. I suddenly remembered the words, husband and wife are one body. Although I had erred, husband and wife are one. Jesus, my husband has already borne my sins, I am not myself. Thinking of this, I looked up at Jesus, tears welling in my eyes. It was as if I saw Jesus on the cross, suffering Jesus. My love for my husband led me to Jesus, to embrace Jesus, Jesus covered in scabs. I dared not say or think anything. I remembered Peter's mistake in stopping Jesus from going to the cross. I touched the scabs and all the wounds on Jesus' body, the wounds in his side, the nail marks on his hands. These were marks of Jesus' love for me, marks of his ransom, marks of his obedience to the Father. Looking at these wounds, I felt how sublime and glorious they were. I even worshipped these wounds, worshipped Jesus' heart of obedience to the Father's will, and his heart of suffering and dying for love. I looked up at Jesus' face or his eyes, my gaze filled with reverence. Jesus shone brightly, especially his wounds, which shone gloriously. Jesus looked so glorious and sublime. I don't know if it was worship or reverence that brought tears to my eyes. September 5, 2019, the robe of Jesus. I saw Jesus wearing a large robe, on my right, wrapping me in it, embracing me as we walked forward, completely enveloping me in the robe. Inside Jesus' robe, I walked with him. I felt very short. As I walked, I held him tightly, my arms around him, weeping, as if out of gratitude for Jesus' redemption, for not abandoning me, and for his companionship.